It's a wonderful day in the homiehood, a wonderful day for a homie. Won't you be my homie to Taro? All right, today could be the day that we go viral, says Lightly Salted in chat, and that's because we do the news here every weekday morning. Today is Monday, February 6th. Oh my goodness, we're already 6 days into February, and we got a lot of news going down. For one thing, if you're interested in making a little bit of extra money, you might be wise enough, like some of these people, to start collecting black toonies, which are some people are selling for $100 or in some cases $150 a roll. That's right, goth money. And if you've ever collected a roll of toonies, you know there's only $50 in a roll. So people are making some big profits off of just collecting coins, which something as a kid I used to do. I used to love just like collecting money because I mean, hey, it's money, it's fun to collect. And I already have one black toonie. So if you are interested in supporting the channel, please purchase this toonie from me. I'm selling it on Facebook Marketplace now for only $10. But if it doesn't sell, the price is just going to go up and up and up and up. So any support would be fantastic. Someone in chat here is saying they aren't as dark looking in person. I thought they would be more of a matte black. It's true. They are lighter than they appear here in these pictures. They look really goth like this, but they're more of a pastel goth in real life. So, moving on, the economy is they're saying that it's still possible for a soft landing, which means we might very narrowly avoid a recession. Some people like the Bank of Montreal and the Bank of Canada are saying that there's a 50-50 chance that we are going to avoid a recession. If we do enter a recession, it'll probably just be like a medium-sized recession, which won't be as bad as like a full-fledged recession. Part of this is because of there's three reasons they gave. China has reopened from strict COVID-19 rules. And also, it's been a relatively mild winter in North America and Europe, which means we're spending less money for energy. And there's also been a deceleration in price and wage growth, but so far without rising joblessness. So I guess this is great news. We definitely want it to be a soft landing. Going into a recession will obviously be bad for the majority of working folks, like probably all of us in chat and including myself. I'm really hoping that these are not like harder economic times than they have to be. So just to catch us up on another story that we covered at length last week, breaking news. It turns out that not everyone in Quebec is racist. There might even be a few Quebeckers who are not racist. So, prominent Quebeckers voice support for Trudeau's anti-Islamophobia representative. That is our person here, Amira Algawabi. So, last week we were covering this. Amira faced a lot of backlash after being appointed to this special position to combat Islamophobia. Bloc Québécois leader Yves Francois Blanchet is calling for her to step down and for the position to be removed entirely. Pierre Poilievre was accusing Miss Algawabi of anti-Semitism and anti-Quebecois. So it was really weird, but it's great to know that there are some Quebec people who are not actually racist, including Charles Taylor and civil rights lawyer Julius Gray. So Charles Taylor is a philosopher, and it's they're saying a lot of this stuff that we have been repeating here on the channel. Francois Legault wants this person to be a neutral entity and not have a pre-existing position about Bill 21, which means that people cannot wear religious symbols in certain public positions. And it's just like to think that this person exists who is an advocate for Islamophobia, or sorry, anti-Islamophobia, and would have a neutral position on Islamophobic law. This person doesn't exist. So I think what they're really calling for especially because they're calling for the removal of this position, is for them to be allowed to continue their Islamophobic campaign and their Islamophobic Bill 21. So this person here in the article did, I think, a really good job. There's a massive Islamophobia in the Western world, and anybody who pretends that's not the case in a society is either a liar or a moron. So basically, straight up calling Blanchette and Legault liars and morons, of which I'm inclined to agree on that position. And again, saying that nobody could possibly have a neutral view on Bill 21 unless they didn't already know about that its existence. Okay, so moving on to some international news. We don't tend to cover too much international news, but this headline particularly kind of like caught my attention. Some people were talking about it on Twitter. Putin promised not to kill Zelensky, former Israeli Prime Minister Bennett says. So the fact that this is even news is ridiculous, but here's Mr. Bennett, who is no longer the Prime Minister of Israel, but he's saying that in a meeting with whatchamacallit, Putin, he said that Putin promised, pinky swore even, okay, maybe not actually pinky swore, but basically just said that no, he's not going to kill Zelensky. And I mean, very bizarre. Like, I don't know why anyone would take Vladimir Putin's word in good faith that he would simply not kill his like opponent in this war. And I mean, does it really matter? I guess it would have a huge impact if Zelensky was killed. I think he's kind of like obviously the spearhead for the Ukraine side of the war, but also I mean, they're still going to kill a whole bunch of Ukrainian people and a whole bunch of Russian people as a result of this conflict. So it doesn't really matter to me that Putin is saying that he's not willing to kill Zelensky, although he's probably lying. But because a whole bunch of people are still going to die, people who are less famous and I suppose less important than Zelensky. So very weird. It just since we're focusing on headlines in this segment of the show, I thought maybe this is like something we could talk about. So back to Canadian news. MPs pass a private member's bill that would change references to child pornography in Canada's laws. So this is something we have been following a little bit. This is just like a great win across the board. It's like, hey, all another unanimous vote here that is changing the language of the existing laws from child pornography and replacing it with child sexual abuse and exploitation material. So this is something that some other countries have done. For me, I think it's just like, okay, yeah, it's great. I believe that language has power, and the way that we frame some of these things is really important. So this is something that was voted on unanimously to update our existing laws. It means that police and lawyers and judges and parliamentarians and really all of us, I think it's starting a trend to stop talking about this material in a way that kind of like insinuates that it is kind of like permissible. Like child porno, when you use the words child pornography, it makes it seem as though the children are like porn stars, right? Like it's just like really kind of like bad language. So by changing this to inherently state that, hey, the person who is being presented in this material is inherently the victim of sexual abuse and exploitation. So I mean, this like it's great that this is happening. And what I think the takeaway for me also is like, hey, it's really great that we are able to change our language to update to keep up like with the times and to be more specific in the way that we address these societal concerns. So what is shocking to me is that there are so many other parts of things that we advocate for, right? Like, when we're changing the name of Girl Scouts from brownies to comets or something like that, or we're asking people to, hey, we maybe use someone's proper pronouns when you're talking to them. Um, these are all evolutions in our language, and for so much of that there is a resistance to change. So it's nice to see that in some cases like this, but maybe only because it serves their political interests, conservatives and really unanimously across the political mainstream spectrum, we're seeing support for this change. So chat here saying it resexualizes the children by calling it pornography. Yeah, exactly. So it's removing that stigma, which is fantastic. And I guess this also removes the defense of it's not pornography, which could be relevant sometimes, similar to the change to sexual assault instead of RAPE in the criminal code. Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, chat, for the input. So more Canadian politics here. Justin Trudeau's Liberals are stuck in the mud and hoping a healthcare deal helps pull them out. So this is an opinion piece from Campbell Clark. I thought it's just like a great way to kind of think about the political situation. Um, Too long didn't read. Language matters. Yeah, it really does. And I think, it's something that we on the left are always kind of like, hey, maybe we should use better language when we're addressing these issues, and there's always a resistance. It's funny in this case that there's not resistance, and I think for good reason, but it makes a case to show that, hey, language does matter. But yeah, anyways, the Liberals have been stuck in the mud, as this person puts it. There has been the controversy over the gun bill, which they've gone back on, and there's been the MAID. They've put that on hiatus for another year. The expansion of the medical assisted in dying program. There's also been the whole Amira Al-Ghawabi appointment that has gone bad, and unfortunately, it's taken the lens off of Islamophobia and put it just on one Muslim woman. So like a lot of things have been going bad for the Liberals here federally, and they are hoping to, I think, fix it all with this healthcare what do you call it, transfer, right? They're transferring a lot of funds to the provinces in an attempt to fix healthcare in Canada. So Trudeau down in the polls, and I'm sure that they are hoping to improve their status here, and by funding healthcare, which I think we can all agree across Canada is a pretty broken thing that is affecting everyone. So it's great to hear that this healthcare transfer might go through. It just means billions and billions of dollars will be put into the medical system in all of the provinces. So, and it also aims to do this. It's a percentage, so it's something that will be recurring, and not just a one-time kind of like band-aid solution. So they are insisting that this money has to go to healthcare. Of course, there is a concern that it will go to the privatization of healthcare, and I'm not sure if that has been sketched out in any of these conditions. But it is good to know that the federal government is saying, "Hey, we're giving you this money. You have to spend it on healthcare. You can't you can't send it over to some other thing that you've screwed up. You have to spend this money on healthcare." So again, they're meeting, I think, in February to sketch out the details of this deal, and they're going to probably we're going to be hearing a lot more about this in the near future. But it is just good to know, hey, healthcare systems are broken across Canada. We need the money, and hopefully that money will go to the right places, especially towards like staffing. Make sure that our healthcare systems can operate. So in more specific Ontario news, Marit Stiles was confirmed as Ontario NDP leader after a majority vote. This is something that we've been a bit critical of. It was a one person race, so obviously you could only vote for one person, or you could abstain your vote. I was surprised at how many emails and texts and everything I got. I didn't even think I was still a member of the NDP, and I'm not sure that I am, but I'm still on their mailing list, I guess. Once you can always revoke your membership to the NDP, but you cannot revoke your receiving those emails and texts. They once they got you in their system, there's really no getting out of that vortex. Um, I think I gave them $5 once because I signed up as a like lower income member, and then like the next week they invaded like Wet'suwet'en territory, unceded Wet'suwet'en territory in British Columbia, and I was like, wow, I actually hate this party. Why am I a part of it? But anyways, you know, Marit Stiles is the new leader in Ontario, and there it's been really weird. Like I wanted to see more rhetoric come out. I wanted to see the speech from both her and Jagmeet Singh as they kind of like were celebrating this change in leadership. But I haven't been able to find the video or anything. I was hoping to watch it on stream today if we got it. Maybe we can find it. Um, but you know, there were a couple quotes in this that I thought were pretty good. Finally, you know, I would like to see more and learn more about what they're planning to do, but I'm not getting very much. So, where was it? Where was it? With Marit Stiles being confirmed as leader of the NDP, Ontario is getting more of the same. Oh, right. This is the PC criticism. This is the conservative criticism saying that Miss Stiles has been elected as the leader of the party of no. So this is what the whole thing that they're going with is like, oh, the NDPs, they say no. They said no to this and this and that, and like, but you know what? Like we basically, you know, it it might work, and I think there is kind of like a sexist line of attack where and it's kind of what they did with Andrea Horvath, where it's just like, oh, this person says no, this is like she's just trying to stop us men from like getting work done, is kind of like the vibe I get. It comes off to me as like very sexist. But also I think, you know, in a way it hopefully will backfire on them, because you know, saying no is not so bad when you're standing up to a bully. And the Doug Ford government and the conservatives are, in my opinion, bullies, and that's what they're doing. They're bullies with bulldozers. So hopefully Marit Stiles is the person to say no to the conservatives, and hopefully there is some traction that is built out of this. Honestly, you know, like I'm critical of the NDP, but I also recognize that they are probably the harm reduction vote here, so the lesser of two evils, if you will. Um, Okay, so here's Marit saying we are starting a strong foundation, on a strong foundation, sorry, and we have our former leader Andrea Horvath to thank for that. Mr. Singh is saying Marit is the real deal. She is a force for change, and she is a leader who will run for premier of this province and lift us all up. Okay. Mrs. Stiles says, I want them to expect better. Everybody, including unionized workers in this province, I want them to expect more. I want them to know that they deserve a government who's not afraid to talk about labor issues, who's not just going to put on a hard hat and safety vest when it's election time and make a lot of promises. We're going to win this election. I feel absolutely confident in that, and that's because I know how to win. So, again, I wish I could not be the one telling you this and we could just watch the speech, but NDP comms, where are you at? You know, like give us the speech. I want to see it. I want to hear the fire in Marit's belly, if there is any. So, you know, it's going to be a while for an election, but I'm hoping I'm wishing Marit Stiles the best. Again, not a member of the NDP, but as someone who's left of the NDP, I recognize them as the harm reduction candidate and the most viable alternative to these Doug Ford conservatives. So moving on, of course, the story everyone was talking about all weekend is that there was a balloon. That's right, there was a balloon, and this balloon was over. Wait for it. the United States of America. Okay? So some people are saying that it's China's balloon. The US is saying it's China's balloon. The Chinese are saying, "Hey, that's our balloon." um and we can all agree, I guess, that it's a balloon. So it got shot down finally after this very dramatic saga, I guess. It was days and days of this balloon flying over the United States of America, and they finally shot it down. The US Navy is working to recover the balloon from the what is it? Atlantic Ocean? One of the oceans. Um and China is still insisting that this was just a weather balloon that flew off course. It's not for surveillance. China is saying that it's an overreaction to shoot it down, but also the U.S. allowed it to fly across the entire country before they shot it down. So if it is a surveillance balloon, why was it allowed to collect so much data before getting shot down? I guess Donald Trump is in heat because apparently there were similar balloons during his presidency that he never brought attention to or something. There's just like all this drama about a balloon. And the takeaway is like, hey, like China and the US are spying on each other. It's true. And so this is shouldn't really be news to anyone. Major world global leaders, they conduct intelligence on each other. I guess, the US has balloons over other places and China has balloons. Who I didn't even know that balloons were such a thing. Like we have satellites. Apparently balloons can collect certain types of data that satellites can't collect. And balloons, balloons, balloons. China is calling this, of course, an overreaction. Here's another photo of it being blown up. I guess that's the fighter jet or whatever. It's crazy that they needed a fighter jet. Personally, I guess if it was me, like I would have gone up there in my own balloon, like a hot air balloon, and I would have like got a lasso and caught that other balloon, reeled it in like a fishing rod, and I would have taken the balloon intact. I would have been like, instead of shooting down and destroying the balloon, I'm just gonna take this balloon home. Like this is my balloon now. Yeah, somebody call the balloon boy. You mean like the guy from Up, right? Yeah, I would have been like that half Asian kid from Up, and the old man. We could have like just taken this balloon for ourselves, and instead of having to recover it from the Atlantic Ocean or whatever, you could have just taken the whole thing home and been like, sorry, China, this is our balloon now. But they blew it up. Here's the trajectory. I guess it entered in Alaska's Aleutian Islands. So they've been tracking it for all of this time. It went through Canada. It's crazy to me. The news is not that there was also a balloon in Canada for a set amount of time, because there was, according to this map. Um, Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares that there was a balloon in Canada. We just care that once it crossed the Canadian American border, that's when we started caring. Even up here in Canada, that's the moment we started caring. And we didn't, this is a Canadian newspaper that is publishing this picture. And it doesn't, it doesn't even have the dates for when it was in Canada, but it January 31st was over here and whatever, like northern Idaho, Billings, Montana. This is when we started hearing about it, I think. I guess when it was in Montana. It kept going to Kansas, Missouri, to Asheville, North Carolina, and I guess it ended up in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. So pretty wild journey, I guess. If they said they weren't going to shoot it down because they were worried about the debris hurting civilians, which is nice of them, but also they could have probably shot it down when it was over the Aleutian Islands, and then they shot it down in the water. I feel like there would be somewhere along here where it'd be safe to shoot it down, and there's not any risk of hurting civilians, but they waited till it's in the water, and then they even said like, hey, it's too deep in the ocean, like we can't get it. So maybe they can't get all of it, according to the US Navy. So that is really There was a balloon. It made its trip around the world in less than 90 days, and there it is. There it is. That's really all there is to it. There was a balloon. Now there's not a balloon. The balloon belonged to China. Um, the U.S. and China are spying on each other. As it turns out, it's really unfortunate, I guess, because this is something that it's hurting American Chinese relationships. It'll affect Canada's relationship with China, and I mean, diplomacy is good. I would prefer diplomacy to be happening, but unfortunately, because of this balloon, diplomacy has been canceled. So, if you made it this far in the news on this day, please don't be afraid to drop us a like or a comment. Please don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel. We are very close to hitting 200 followers on this YouTube channel. So, thank you so much for following my homie Tutaro in the morning, live on Twitch, repeated for YouTube. We're here every weekday. We'll see you tomorrow.